Finding a domain is actually a pretty simple thing to do. So here's the idea. In domain, you're saying, what are all the possible x values? Okay, so we're looking at x values and we're saying, what could all work? And you know what? Pretty much everything's going to work. The only thing that's not going to work is the thing that makes the bottom equal to 0. And that should sound familiar because that's how we find the vertical asymptote. The vertical asymptote is at every place where the bottom is equal to 0, which means if you find the vertical asymptote, you've also ultimately found the points in the domain that don't exist. So we take, to find the domain, we take the bottom and set it equal to 0. So I have x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Now this is quadratic, so we're going to bubble it or box it out. And we get a plus 3 and a minus 1. That's going to give us what we want. So now we have x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 1 equals 0. We get x equals negative 3 and 1. Now those would be my vertical asymptotes. Those, however, are not my domain. See, the domain is everything that does work, and these ones don't work. So the domain is all x except x equals negative 3 and x equals 1. Okay, so that's all x except that. Okay, there's many ways to write that, but that's one way. Sometimes I use the word but instead of except. Otherwise, we could also say x does not equal negative 3 and x does not equal 1, and then that would assume that everything else is equal to it. So that is finding the domain. Again, domain has all x values that do work. Because we're working with a fraction, the only time a fraction doesn't work is if the bottom is equal to 0. So that's what we focus on. When does the bottom equal 0? Because that's the x values that do not work. And so it's everything but those in the domain.